course, it's nice to see you again. Thanks for coming and visiting. It's me, Rachel, with Baking Away the Pain. Have you ever wondered how you can make a good, sturdy, cutout shortbread cookie like this one? And have you ever wondered how to add fondant to that for decoration like this? Well, today I'm going to go over that with you and intersperse a little bit of self-care tips in there. So let's get started. First, why the shortbread cookie? Well, I really enjoy a shortbread cookie. It's very simple to make. Most of the time you have the ingredients laying around your house, so if you really want to, you're just kind of craving a sugar cookie, but say you don't have the eggs, you can make a shortbread cookie. The only problem I ran into was, for quite a while, the inability to roll out the dough of shortbread. Because it's a drier dough, it would crumble and fall apart. So after searching through one of my good friends' Pinterest, I found a pretty good recipe that I used a lot over this holiday season, that I used in making my Christmas tree cookie tree, which was really good and got some pretty good reviews. Which I also decorated with fondant because I love to use fondant. It's kind of like playing with Play-Doh for an adult that you can eat. And that it's okay to eat, because, I don't know, you always had that kid in school that would eat the Play-Doh, and I never tried it, but it probably didn't taste very good. Anyway, let's get started. So here is a list of ingredients / supplies that you're gonna need, also with a link to the Pinterest ingredients and how to make the cookies, what temperature. So here's that list. And now let's talk about some important little tips and tricks that I found. I'm going to throw up some tips and tricks here. One important thing is, after you make your dough, which is very easy to make, you're going to want to chill it. And then I always use it in sections, since sometimes this dough, you can make a lot of dough at once. So when you roll it between parchment paper, which is really helpful, so that way you don't have to add flour to it and roll it on a surface, and have it get stuck, add too much flour, then it gets crumbly. Use it between parchment paper, and then, I'll use my rolling pin and bang on it a little bit to flatten it, and then roll it out, and then you just use your cookie cutter or whatever cutter you want, and then cut out the shapes. One side note is, a benefit with the shortbread cookie is you can pretty much use whatever kind of flavoring you want. The ones that I made here, I decided to go with cherry because I thought it would be fun. And then I also colored them green, just a little bit of green, just for an added fun, because I made these cookies for a neighbor who just had a baby boy, and so I thought it would be fun to send over a little welcome gift. So another tip that I'm going to throw here so you can check it out is, I found that it's easier to take the cutout cookies off of the parchment paper after sticking them in the freezer for a few minutes. So I just lift up the parchment paper and then put it on a cookie sheet and stick it in the freezer. And if you're able to kind of take off the excess dough from the edges and just roll them up and then stick it in your Tupperware container, wrap it in some foil or whatever, and stick it in the refrigerator for a little bit, works great. So after about 5 minutes, take the dough out of the freezer, the cutouts, and then you can easily lift the cutout off of the parchment paper. And another side note or a little tip is that cold or frozen dough cutouts will cook better in the oven. They're going to spread less just because the fat of the butter is cold, so it takes longer for it to heat up and spread. So you won't have, like I've had in the past, you know, if I'm making a star cutout, it turns into this kind of wonky kitty wampus looking circle, and then you end up trying to either cut off the edges or cut the design out, or you just go, oh well, whatever, it still tastes good, right? So that's something that I found that helps is chilling the dough. And you can either, one thing that works great for me is my trusty friends, my little silicone silk mats here. You can get these kind. These ones are great on Amazon, which is another friend of mine. So you can either take the frozen cookies off of the parchment paper, put them onto your silk mats or another piece of parchment paper, stick it in the oven, or you can just take the whole parchment paper itself and just pop it right in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then take it out, cool it. And that reminds me, whilst your cookies are in the oven, it is a great time to take a little rest and do some self-care. I personally like to watch some fun YouTube videos, maybe like a fun, cute panda video. So why don't we take a minute and watch a cute panda video? Okay, how did you like that video? It was great and funny. They're cute. Between that and cat videos, yeah, good mental health distraction to boost your mood. I also found that having a stool, if I get tired on my feet too long, I can put the stool up to my counter here and cook that way, and that's been pretty helpful. And I also, Amazon again, got one of these mats for my kitchen to help, there I am, my feet from not hurting. So, and I love it. They're super comfy and soft. We used to have them at the bakery I worked at, and they're great. So now that you have your cookies cooled, and if you wanted to look at the tips and tricks pictures that I've just added in between here, take your time. And then once your cookies have cooled, you can store them in a Tupperware container, stick them in the freezer if you don't want to do your decorating, but you wanted to get the cookies out of the way and you're feeling good today. So hey, I'm not hurting, I'm gonna whip up some cookies, but yet it might be too much. I'll get too tired sometimes, so I'll either keep them in a Tupperware on the counter for a couple of days, and since they're shortbread cookies, they take a long time to go bad, or to just kind of get that too dry, crumbly taste. So you can also stick them in the freezer if you know it's going to be a few weeks before you're going to finish your project. And now we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to come back at you for part 2, which is really fun, is the decorating, where you can get really kind of creative.